a resource for daily living, and not merely an objective for living. And not merely an objective for living. We have to all endeavor to have good health. We have all endeavor to be healthy, because when we have health, then we will have good life. So we treat health as a resource. Okay? And that is why we all have to endeavor to be healthy. So. And then we have well-being. He alluded to it. Well-being is a state. Is a state. And is a state of feeling happy. You say health and well-being. So those are two words, eh? Well-being, a state of being happy, comfortable, and having meaningful life. Having a meaning or a purpose for which you are living. Okay? So we are saying everybody needs to work towards their own well-being. To be happy, to strive to be happy. To strive to get fulfillment, to get purpose in life. Yes? We all know our purpose. Anybody who doesn't know their purpose in life? What God created you for? We all know what God created us for, because we cannot be the same thing, isn't it? Yeah? We are very diverse. And in that diversity is where our strength lies. Okay? So we need to have a sense of fulfillment, a meaningful life. Okay? And of course, well-being emerges from a number of things. It emerges from your thoughts. Your thoughts. The next slide, please walk with me. Walk with me. Next slide, please. Yes. There. It emerges from your thoughts, your actions, and your experiences. How are your thoughts? How do they lead to your actions? And how do your experiences, therefore, dictate your state of well-being? Sometimes we go through very difficult experiences, isn't it? Yeah? Sometimes we go through very good experiences. And these things will determine whether you have wellness or not, whether you're well or not. Okay? So after we have understood health and well-being and what they stand for, then we need to look at what are the dimensions, because there are so many things about well-being. And I want to focus so much on well-being and wellness today. Because when we are not well, then we cannot lead. Yeah? Next slide, please. I want us to concentrate on some dimensions of well-being. When we talk about well-being, so what do we mean? And you can list these dimensions. The emotional dimension of well-being, our emotions, so we'll discuss about that. Environmental dimension, financial dimension, intellectual, occupational, physical, social, last but not least, spiritual. When you have all these, then you're well. You are in a right state of well-being. So let me focus a little on emotional well-being. Emotional well-being is concerned with the capacity that encompasses optimism, that we are optimistic all the time, even when things are not easy, because sometimes they will, not be very easy, isn't it? Yeah? But we can live with optimism that things will get better. Yes? Self-esteem. There are people who have low self-esteem. As leaders, if you are a leader and you have low self-esteem, what kind of outlook will it have to the people you lead? So we need to have a high self-esteem. Yeah? Look at yourself as the best so that you can transfuse that best of who you are to the people you lead. Okay? Self-acceptance. Let us accept ourselves the way we are. The way we are. Don't look down upon yourself. Accept yourself. Okay? Some of us struggle with some things. I may struggle, I told you I have a problem with presenting to crowds. Okay? But I accept myself. Okay? And I try to overcome that challenge. So I look at it as a challenge. Okay? And that cannot hamper me from giving you the information that I have. Okay? So accept yourself the way you are. Okay? And have the ability to form healthy relationships. Have the ability to form healthy relationships. Belong. Belong. Don't live in isolation. Because when you have healthy relationships, you can reach out. Okay? Are we together? And overall, the emotional dimension deals with the ability to manage stress. The ability to manage what? Because in our course of leadership, we will experience stressful situations. True or false? True. Yeah? We will get overwhelmed. And when we are overwhelmed, how do we deal with it? Are we together? And then we go to the environmental dimension of well-being. Right now we're talking about global warming and the rains, and when it's raining, we have floods, and when it is shining, we have drought. So we're living in two extremes. Because of global warming, tabia nchi. We need to create harmony with the environment we live in. And we have different aspects of environment. The physical environment, the work environment, where you work. Yeah? Is that environment, if you are a leader in the places you work, are you creating an environment that is conducive for the people who work under you to be productive? Yeah? Are you getting enough out of your people because you have created a conducive environment to work? So it's not just the physical environment. But let us look at our home environment. How is it? How do we relate as a family? How do we relate as a family? I will tell you, my wife is my colleague and she's my best friend. And family is the only place I go and feel very happy. Family. My children know that our father loves us very much, and our mother loves us very much, and they know we are a unit, an inseparable unit. We have created that conducive environment for the family to thrive. So your family environment, your work environment, your community environment. Now we are a community of Deliverance Church, Blue Valley. How is the environment? Is it an environment that fosters growth? Okay? Provide safe spaces for people sometimes to feel vulnerable. Yeah? Are we together? Financial. And right now I know We are going, a lot of people are going through a lot of financial hardships. True, isn't it? The economy is not working very well. And I remember Bishop saying, this year I'm not going to complain. Yeah? Yeah, he said, this year he's not going to do what? However hard things might be. So let us plan our finances even during these difficult times so that we don't get overwhelmed. Okay? Let us adjust. Intellectual. Everybody has a desire to become better, to get reading, to acquire a new skill. Yeah? It is an innate desire in every human being just to be better. So as leaders, let us aim to be better. Let us read. Yeah? All the time. Occupational. I think I talked about it. Your work environment. How is it? Does it support you to be able to be a better person, to be able to be a better worker? Physical environment or physical dimension. How is your body? How do you take care of your body physically? Your nutrition, exercise. Do you get enough rest? Yeah? Because when you are tired all the time, that will translate into illness, isn't it? You are not able to deliver as a leader. Okay? Social. Are you able to be a part of a community? Yeah? Are you able to make connections? Connections of support. Yeah? When I feel overwhelmed, can I be able to get a brother or a sister to confide in, to talk to? Yeah? So how is your social well-being? And of course, spiritual. How is your spiritual health? How do you relate to your Maker? Yes? Are you living according to His will? Those are important dimensions of well-being. And if you can be able to actually factor all these in your daily life, you will be well. Does it resonate with us? Does it? Next, we want to look at determinants of health. What are the things that will determine whether we are healthy or not? And there are so many determinants of health. There are very, 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 very many. When you see people having disease, yeah? People having mental health issues, physical disease, or emotional issues, they are related to determinants of health. Things that will determine whether you are going to be healthy or not. And there are many. I just listed 5. Genetics. Let me dwell there a little. What is genetics? You know, I teach, so I ask questions all the time. What is genetics? Anybody who wants to try? Genetically modified organisms, GMOs. Anybody who wants to try? Yes? Daktari.
Genetics is the DNA fingerprint of an individual or a living thing.
Very technical, eh? DNA fingerprint. Very technical. Simply put, and I said I want to be very, very simple. Genetics is what determines you, what makes you as a person, and you acquire it from the family. Okay? You'll acquire it from your parents acquired it from their parents, and so on. Okay? Sawa sawa? Okay? Simply put. And there are many conditions that will be genetically determined. We ask you, okay, do you have a family history of? So a history is basically, do you have any person in your family who has suffered from this condition? Yeah, either your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie, first generation, cousin, yeah? And these conditions could be things like diabetes. Let me talk about things we see most here. Diabetes, Diabetes, yeah? So you'll be asked, a family history of diabetes? Yes. So you are a risk. That is a risk of diabetes for you. Okay? So genetics will determine whether we are going to get things like diabetes, hypertension, because they run in our family. Isn't it? Some forms of cancers run in the family. Okay? So when you know that you have these kinds of conditions in the family, then it makes you to be a little bit more proactive, to be able to check, to ascertain that it has not caught up with you. Okay? Are we together? Are we together up to there? Number 2, behavior. Behavior. And genetics you can do nothing about, isn't it? Is there anything you can do to change your genetics? Is there anything you can do? Behavior. You are used to sleeping late and waking up very early. They say, me, I sleep for only 4 hours. Na nimezoea. Nalala masaa ngapi? 4. Endurance. I can endure life without sleep. Behavior. And then over time, you start having health conditions, health problems. Yeah? Isn't it? Behavior, smoking. We have relatives who are smoking, isn't it? We have people who are drinking. We have people who are not even paying attention to nutrition. Yeah? Right now we have industries, and now Kenya is now a middle income country. Yeah? So you're industrializing. And now we have a lot of fast foods. We have a lot of manufactured products on the shelves, and we have a growing middle class, and we are buying our children all these manner of things, isn't it? Yeah? Because you say, I don't want my children to suffer the way I suffered. True. Okay? That is behavior. And then all of a sudden you have a child who is obese. Yeah? And you think that is healthy? No. Okay? Yeah, so those are the things we're talking about, behavior. And behavior you can do something about. Isn't it? You can change your behavior. Yeah? And focus on healthy behaviors. Behaviors that will promote health. Okay? Environmental and physical influences. Where we live, where we work. Yes? The kind of environment we have set our family. Yeah? Kama ni mahali kuna stress kila wakati, kuna issues, si ndio? Si ni ukweli? Yeah? And of course, the physical environment. There are people who are living in northeastern Kenya, and because of global warming, the temperatures go up to 40 degrees Celsius sometimes. And what do they suffer from? Yeah? Dehydration, eh? And then eventually they collapse, and others die, something we call heat stroke. Yeah? Isn't it? Yeah. So all those things will determine whether we are healthy or not. Medical care. And of course, I didn't mention one behavior. Health-seeking behavior. Men, are you there? Men. Health-seeking behavior of men. Iko aje? Hawaendangi hospitali. They only go wakati wameshindwa. But ladies go to hospital very often. And that is why we are losing many men, and many ladies are living to longevity. Ni ukweli? Behavior. Health-seeking behavior. Ladies, akiumwa hata ni headache tu kidogo, ako hospitali. Akienda huko atapima pressure, si ndio? And then I said, sasa si unifanyia hata hiyo lipid yangu iko aje? Now people know, And then na sukari, do for me my urine, do for me my stool. So they test everything, yet alienda na kahede kadogo tusinugweni. It is true. And then we ask ourselves, why are women living longer than men? It is because of their health-seeking behavior. Sindio? Yeah. And then, of course, medical care. The quality of services we get will determine whether we are going to be healthy or not. Sahi madaktari wamegoma. Sindio? Yeah? Sometimes, let me tell you, in this country, sometimes we get shocked. When you have a simple condition in Embu County, you have Embu level 5. Yeah? Which has very many specialists, by the way. But you have to be referred to Kenyatta. Because we have no equipment. There is nothing that can be done there. The level of care. Yeah? So, the level of care will determine whether you are going to live, to be healthy, or not healthy. And then social factors. Connections. The things we are talking about, the society, the community we live in, cultural aspects of our character, culture. Yeah? All those things will determine whether we are going to be healthy or not. There are some cultural practices that will not promote good health, isn't it? Some cultural practices will promote good health. Some communities we live in, imagine you go to an estate in Nairobi where you have 5 cars parked in a compound, and every time somebody even wants to go for shopping, they will drive. They will do what? And they're just going for about a kilometer or less. They will do what? They will drive. Sedentarism, sedentary lifestyles. Yeah? Because of the social class we have. Isn't it? Tunaelewana hapo? These factors play in certain spaces. All these factors, there are very many. There are hundreds of thousands of factors that will determine whether you are healthy or not. But I picked on these ones because they are broad. Okay? These factors play in certain spaces. Next slide, please. Now, let us see. They will play out in a structural space. And here we have the government. The government will come up with policies, health policies, isn't it? These health policies will be, right now they are implementing which one? We are working on which one? SHIV, We are moving from NHIF, and creating a body called SHA, Social Health Authority, which is going to manage the Social Health Insurance Fund. And the government has come with a policy that everybody will have to contribute to this fund. Every household. Are we together? Every household. And it tells us that this fund is going to take care of our health care. It is going to enable us to achieve universal health coverage. Okay? So we are waiting for regulations to see how is it going to implement. But that is the law. So the government comes up with policies. Policies are implemented by institutions. And then they are consumed by communities. They are consumed by who? People. Every time a government comes with a policy, it is consumed by us. Okay? Sawa sawa. So that is the structure. Okay? And of course, for us, in our communities, a number of things will play out. Our culture will play out. Okay? Our ideologies and our worldview. We say, oh, we can compare with what is happening in Uganda or Tanzania or any other place, Isn't it? So that is the structural space. And then we have the interpersonal space. The interpersonal space speaks to social identity. So how old are you? Your age, your gender, your marital status, the kind of job you do. Yeah? All those will determine. Okay? Your health, isn't it? Yeah? And then we have the individual space. And let me really concentrate on the individual space, because here you can do something about it. You have all the power in the world to do something about this. The individual space is determined by what we call modifiable and unmodifiable factors. Modifiable is just something you can change. To modify, something you can change. What are the things you cannot change about ourselves? Some facts about ourselves that we can't change. Yes? Oh, Mushiri? Genetics. We cannot change our genetics. Another one? You cannot change our gender, although squeezy, kuna issue, So inategemea, tunaongelea wapi? Let me tell you, science is good and bad at the same time. Gender. In some spaces nowadays, we actually say gender assigned at birth. Gender assigned at birth. But it is true. Was it possible to change the gender? You are born female, you are female. You are born male, you are male. Let us know it that way. So. Let us not think about all these many other things. What else can we not change about ourselves? Yes, genetics, gender. Any other thing? Yes? You can change your age. Can you change your age? Age will change over time. Okay? Over time, longitudinally, isn't it? Yeah? But if you are 40 now, you are 40. Isn't it? If you are 50, you are 50. Yeah? Isn't it? So those are things you cannot do so much about. Okay? And I want to hammer this so that we understand what we can do. You cannot change those three. But there are things you can change. Okay? In your personal space. And let us look at them. We call them modifiable factors. So we're talking about psychosocial factors, things that affect your mental well-being. Things that affect your mental well-being, like stress, sindio? Anxiety, kwanza tuanze na anxiety. Anxiety, sindio? Alafu, if you don't manage your anxiety, you develop what? And then stress will graduate into? Sindio? But can you do something about it? You can do something about it, isn't it? You can do something about your psychosocial factors so that you don't develop anxiety, chronic anxiety, then you develop stress, then you develop depression. Depression is a medical condition. Hiyo ndio tutakupeleka EMBU level 5, and then we look for a colleague to daktari here and call a psychiatrist who will start managing you with the drugs. Sindio? Okay? Behavior. We are just going back there. Psychosocial factors and behavior. Behavior you can change, isn't it? Yeah? If you're used to sleeping for more than 9 hours, you can change. Yeah? Sindio? If you're used to sleeping for less than 6 hours, you can do what? Change. You can say now sleep between 7 and 9 hours. Sindio? Sindio kweli? Because it has health benefits. Yeah? Sawa. Are we together? All those things will determine our health status, our physical health, our emotional health, and our mental health. Okay? So, next, we want to look at the main pillars of good health for leadership. Somebody to read for us? You don't have a mic, so let me read. Eat a nutrient-rich, health-promoting diet. Diet. What we eat. We are, basically somewhere I said, we are literally what we eat. What do you eat? Can you pay attention to your nutrition? Can you pay attention to what you eat? Okay? What you eat fuels your brain. Get adequate quality sleep. That's another one. Being tired at work compromises your decision making. And as leaders, you'll always make decisions. And sometimes you'll make very bad decisions because your brain was not relaxed. Your brain was very tired, isn't it? Even when you are driving, your judgment will be impaired if you are tired. And that's why they say, pull aside and rest, isn't it? Engage in regular physical activity and avoid turning pressure into stress. And of course, while good health may or may not make or break a good leader, it does contribute to good brain function, sustained energy output, and being physically resilient. And that is very important. You need to be resilient, both mentally and physically. Not just physically, okay? But being physically resilient is extremely important for your functionality. So let us look at these pillars one by one. Next, nutrition, health, and leadership. So we are quite literally what we eat. True or false? Kizoea kukula chips, mafuta, sindio? You're giving yourself too much energy, yet wewe si mtu wa mjengo. Sindio? And then unafanya lipid profile yako inaonyesha mafuta iko juu. Unakuwa worried. Unhealthy diet and lack of physical activity are leading global risks to health. Take that. Energy intake is equal to energy expenditure. What does that mean? Simply means, please, if you don't want to add weight, if you don't want to do what? To add weight. You are not purposing to add weight. Ensure that the energy you take in is equal to the energy you get out. So, that is basically what it means. Number 2, minimize salt intake. We talked about industrialization and industries and manufacturing. Right now, salt, who reads the ingredients, the nutritional information on packets of food we buy? Who reads? Anybody who takes time to read? Nutritional information. It is a policy, it's actually a requirement that every product that is manufactured has nutritional information. That's a government policy. Nani anasoma? Hata mkate. Expiry date peke yake. So, some of these nutritional informations are not very good. They are misleading because they say salt, but they don't tell you the amount of salt. But salt is a very important additive in all manufactured foods. Buy anything, including tomato sauce. Enda usome. Iko na nini? Salt. It is cheap. It is cheap and it can make the food tasty. So it is easy to use it. Okay? Sawa. So limit salt intake. And especially as you age, please do. Please do. Sawa. Reduce. Limit intake of simple sugars. Let me use that word. Simple sugars. Simple. Processed sugars. Our table sugar, our soda, our biscuit, our cake, name them. There are many. Yeah? Please limit. If you can, do ngwashe, nduma, and Githeri, okay? Yeah, they'll still give you sugar. Reduce processed foods and reduce total fat intake. I'll dwell there a little. I'm not a nutritionist, but I will dwell there a little. Fat is used to process food. Most of the cookies we buy are processed, isn't it? And they are baked, and we use fat. What kind of fat is used to bake? Margarine, Margarine. Yes, margarine. Another one? Inakuwa solid ama liquid? Industrial. Inakuwa solid ama liquid? Most of the time they use something called trans fats. Trans fats are actually being forbidden by WHO because they are a risk for many other medical problems, including heart problems. So we are trying to limit trans fats. And trans fats are those fats that are not solid at room temperature. Unakumbuka ile kipo yetu ya kitambo ya mkebe? Mnakumbuka? Hiyo. Those are called trans fats. Na hapo imeandikwa zero cholesterol. Si ndio? Si ni ukweli? Simeandikwa zero cholesterol. Pure vegetable oil. Si ndio? There's a problem. So avoid those ones. If you can, please buy liquid. And use very little. Wanasema pima na hii kidogo. Very little, Very little in your food. Don't add a lot of fat in your food. You don't need it. By the way, as a matter of fact, fat gives you a lot of energy. Can I surprise you? It gives you more energy than your carbohydrates would give you. Your nduma, your ngwashe, your sugar, and so on would give you. Fat has more energy than that, but the body prioritizes your carbohydrates first. So this fat is stored. Okay? And it will be stored everywhere. The body never loses it. Okay? So please, try to just limit, because your body will not prioritize utilization of fat. Okay? And then we have that plate there. No? Go back, please. Yes, that plate. That is our plate. We call it a healthy plate. What do you see on that plate? Half of your plate should be vegetables and fruits. Half of your plate. Okay? And then a quarter, you have your carbohydrates. Yes? And then another quarter, you have your proteins. And these proteins, please, I always tell people, plant proteins are much better. Use very little animal proteins. Plant proteins are better. They are more healthier than animal proteins. And if you have to do animal proteins, then go for what we call lean. Those ones that basically have no much fat, like your white meat, okay? Lakini kuna white meat ingine kama kuku, broiler. Hiyo iko hiyo iko aje? Sini white meat. How is it? And then look at the preparation as well. People say, I've taken white meat, but you have soaked it in fat. Sindio? Okay? And then, of course, stay hydrated. Stay hydrated, very, very important. Okay? Those things we've talked about. Reduce your fat, salt, and sugar. Isn't it? You drink your milk in your tea and so on. That's okay. Okay? Yeah? Don't forget to stay hydrated. Include a drink at a meal and snack times. So that is a healthy plate. So just ensure, forget everything but do more vegetables than anything else. So, and fruits. So next. Yes. Sugar. People substitute honey for sugar. So what is contained in honey? What is contained in honey? What is contained in honey? Daktari, what is contained in honey? Yeah? It is not saccharin. It is not a sweetener. What is contained in honey? She doesn't know. Honey, if you check, honey is basically sugar. Are we together? Honey is sugar. So look at the amounts. We say, use your sugar, but limit. Sugar. Yes, honey is sugar. But just limit the amount of sugar you are taking, isn't it? Sawa sawa. It is natural sugar, true. It is not like our sucrose, our table sugar. Very true. It is like fruit has sugar. Fruit has sugar. We call it fructose. Hii ingine tunaita sucrose. And then of course, fruit has sugar, but that sugar is good. It is good. Okay? So honey is sugar as well. But all I tell people is do everything in moderation. You can imagine having a kg of honey, and then you just, because it is good, natural sugar. Yeah? Okay? So next, sleep. Good. So we've talked about nutrition. We're talking about sleep. When the morning, sleep, go back. Go back, yes, sleep, Sleep is the foundation upon which all other healthy factors are built. If you sleep well, you will wake up well, you will be focused, and your day will end well. So, it is important for physical and emotional health. People perform best with 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. But focus on that, below that statement below the 7 to 9 hours. Poor sleep may lead to obesity. And poor sleep may either be too little or too much. Sindio? Too little sleep or too much sleep. It may lead to obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart diseases, mood disorders, fatigue, and generally low life expectancy. So it is important to prioritize sleep. Very important. And we want to look at some things that you can do to ensure that you are getting sufficient sleep. Yeah? So number 1, prepare to go to bed. Okay? You don't just go to bed and uko na simu hapo na ume unangoja usingizi ikuje. Si ndio? So that's what people do. So develop, number 1, sleep in silence. Quiet. So let your bedroom be made for sleeping. Your bedroom should, wangapi wako na TV kwa room? Bedroom, kuna TV. Radio. People go and start watching TV in bed. Yeah? Sindio? Sindio kweli? So that's what we do. And then of course we're talking about eating before going to bed. How many hours should you stay after a meal before you go to bed, before you retire? 3, 2, yes? How many hours? 3. Any other opinion? People, you will do very well with 4 hours. Okay? You do very well with 4 hours, eh? Sawa. Are we together? Avoid hizi vitu ambazo we call them stimulants. Yeah? People take tea. I don't want to talk about smoking, but it is good for you to educate other people there. Some people would smoke before they go to bed. It is not good. Yeah? People would take tea, coffee before you go to bed. No. Okay? Some people would exercise vigorously before they go to bed. No. Don't exercise vigorously before you go to bed. You can do your small exercises way before. Because you are stimulating your body, so you will not sleep. It is supposed to be slowing down. Sindio? Yeah? Are we together? And then ensure that your bed is comfortable. Very important. Your bedroom is inviting. Okay? Avoid gadgets, of course. Sawa. And sleep at the same time. Make a routine of sleeping at the same time and waking up at the same time. Within the 7 to 9 hours. Hiyo ni sawa? Are we together? Are we together up to there? Good. So now we can go to the next slide. I hope I'm still good. Physical activity, health, and leadership. So in the morning, in the day, we say start the day with some vigorous physical activity, and this will have a positive ripple effect on other areas of your brain, of your health and leadership. Vigorous. I usually say, do as your body can permit. Do as your body can permit. Build on it slowly by slowly. Okay? So vigorous is relative. So do vigorous based on your body's permission. Sawa. And this is what physical activity will do to you. A confident individual is more likely to take calculated risks. As a leader, you have to take calculated risks. Assert themselves effectively. You don't assert yourself by trampling on others, isn't it? But you can assert yourself in an effective way where you are leading people and people are drawing inspiration from you. Okay? And inspire trust in others. In leadership, confidence fostered through physical activity can contribute to, look at the advantages, effective decision making. You wake up, you have engaged in a physical activity, you've started on a good note, you'll make effective decisions. You'll be very good at decision making. Strong interpersonal relationships. You'll go to the office and you are in high spirits and you feel good about yourself and everybody is high and you are the boss, Hakuna mtu anaingia chini ya meza, but hujalala, umeamuka asubuhi umechoka, you have not engaged in any physical activity, unaenda na mood kwa ofisi. You can imagine what the people who work under you will be feeling. Commanding presence that is motivating, reduce stress levels, increase focus and concentration, boost creativity, improve decision-making skills, and develop greater self-awareness. So you see what physical activity can do? Yeah? Now, physical activity, what is it all about? How do you engage in physical activity? There are a number of things you can do. Physical activity is about the work you do at home. Si tunaosha vyombo, tunaosha nyumba, tunafanya nini? Yeah? It depends on how much energy you spend. Tunaenda kwa shamba. Yeah? Sindio? People will engage in regular exercises, that is still physical activity. People will and regular exercises include jogging and going to the gym, isn't it? That is still physical activity, yeah? Okay? And then, people when you come to church and you sing and you dance, let me tell you, that is physical activity. It is good for your mind, soul, and body. It is good. So dance in church. Okay? It helps you. It helps your brain as well. Okay? But it is said, for you to benefit from physical activity, you need to engage in what we call moderate or high intensity physical activity. Okay? At least, let me start with moderate. Moderate intensity physical activity, at least 30 minutes and at least 5 days in a week. 30 minutes for at least 5 days in a week. And what is moderate intensity physical activity? It is an activity you do, unasikia mwili imekuwa moto, so you start, unasikia kajoto fulani, Sawa? Then unasikia, hey, my heart is beating, unasikia heart ina beat kidogo, Sawa? Are we together? Yeah? And then sometimes, unaweza hata kusweat. Hiyo ndio moderate. The moment you engage, unasikia mwili imekuwa moto kidogo, your heart is beating. Najua I have engaged in moderate intensity physical activity. High intensity physical activity is where you sweat. Unaona hiyo story ya kina Kipchoge and so on. Those ones. People are running and they are sweating and they cannot even complete a sentence. And then journalists will go there after they have finished running. They will be there and tell us, how did you win? And they cannot finish a sentence. That is high intensity physical activity. And you can do it if your body allows. So. But just do something. Engage. Burn the energy. So. Are we together? That that other slide basically just tells you the importance of physical activity for mental health, physical health, and so on. And we've talked about this, and reduction in disease risk. Okay? Let us talk about stress next. Because we all encounter, nani hajai encounter stress? Next slide, please. Nani hajai encounter stress kwa maisha yake? Sisi wote, si ndio? Stress inatupata. Next slide, please. So how do you manage stress? How do you manage stress? Daktari, how do you manage stress?
I think you can manage it depending on circumstances. One of them is where you are able to control your worries. And anything that causes worry, if you can manage to control it, the better. The other way is creating certainty. By this I mean plan.
Good.
When you plan things out, your mind already adjusts to the plan. And what happens is that you anticipate and you prepare for it. But if you are engaged in what is planless, the more they come around, the more they compete for your attention and your energy, then the stress.
That is very true. And you can see there, identify stressors, so know what is stressing you. You can only deal with what you know, isn't it? Manage your time. Adopt a healthy lifestyle, what we've just been talking about, and engage in some relaxation techniques. Relax. Focus on the moment. Just relax. Something has happened. Take time, step back, and relax. Okay? Set boundaries. There are people who will never say no. Akipewa assignment anasema nitaweza, akipewa ile nitaweza, akipewa ile nitaweza. So you have many assignments and then you feel overwhelmed. Say, let me manage this one because I feel I am good with this much. Okay? Seek support. Very important. Okay? Si hizo vitu ni muhimu. Tukifanya hizo, then stress levels zinarudi chini. Okay? So I will very quickly pass through some of the risk factors for ill health. Next slide, please. And what is a risk? What is a risk? Anybody? When you start a business, you're engaging in a risk. You're taking a risk. So what is a risk? Yes.
Any uncertainty.
Any uncertainty. A risk is a probability of something negative happen. Negative. Underline negative. A probability of something negative happening. So we have some risk factors for ill health. And they are an unhealthy diet, which we've talked about. Physical inactivity. Tobacco use. Alcohol, not just harmful, but alcohol is a bad thing. Raised cholesterol levels. And usually they come from diet and inactivity. Yes. Overweight and obesity. Raised blood pressure and raised blood sugar levels. Those are just few risk factors. Na hizi vitu zote zinatuconcern. So, your blood pressure, your blood sugars, your activity, check your activity level, okay? Check what you eat. And as we are almost coming to an end, but I want to mention some common illnesses and risk factors associated with them. Very, very quickly. Diabetes. Sindio, tunajua diabetes. We have relatives, we live with diabetes. Sindio kweli? So what are some of the risk factors for diabetes? Diabetes can get anybody at any age, especially if there is a family history. We have diabetes for young children, what we call type 1 diabetes. They acquire from their parents, genetic. Okay? But we say, for adult onset diabetes, anybody who is an adult, usually I don't pay a lot of attention to ages, but anybody who is an adult can get diabetes. But the older you get, the higher the risk. Okay? And the risk factors for diabetes are physical inactivity, inadequate sleep, alcohol use, cigarette smoking. And there are many others. I just pointed out these three. So how do you screen? Screening is basically checking out if you have this problem among the population because you don't have symptoms. So screening is done to people who are apparently healthy. Okay? So you want to pick them out before they start developing symptoms. Usually it's a blood sugar, and that's why we say ladies go to hospital and they say, check my blood sugar. For men, sisi tunangoja mpaka waanze kuwa na symptoms. Unaamuka usiku mara 10. Your weight has started to go down. Hapo ndio unasema, I think I'm not well. Umekunywa dawa ya Masai, imekataa. Sini ukweli? Sini ukweli? So you screen blood sugar. Your blood sugar levels, sana sana inaitwa fasting blood sugar ama random blood sugar. And then there's something called HbA1c. It's also a screening test. I've seen many people do it in Embu here. Embu people are more aware of their health, so they go for these screenings. I've seen them do a lot. And then high blood pressure. Again, the older you get, the higher the risk. Family history, obesity, smoking, physical inactivity, high salt diet, alcohol use, stress. How often? Screening modalities, just walk into a clinic and do your blood sugar, your blood pressure check when you are rested. Okay? Unafika, unapumzika kidogo, alafu unapima blood pressure. Okay? Do it as often as you can. High blood pressure does not have symptoms in a majority of the people. Does not have what? Symptoms. You could be walking here and you have a high blood pressure of 200 over 120. Na uko tu hapa. Na una sing hapa. And then siku moja utakollapse hapa. Tuseme alipata stroke. Si ndio? So please check. Cancer for men, prostate cancer. Of course, if you are a man and you have a prostate, definitely you are at risk. Okay? If you are getting older, you are at risk. 40 years and above. Family history. Obesity, angalia obesity, iko kila mahali. Diet. Kuna wale watu wanapenda sana vitu animal products. Smoking, chemical exposure. Some chemical exposures, these are people who work in certain industries. And then infections of the prostate. And of course, sexually transmitted infections. So, screening for prostate. Sisi wanaume, hatuendangi hospitali. How is prostate cancer screened? Wanaume. How?
You can go and do a blood test for PSA level, or you can go for a scan.
You can do a blood test, or you can go for a scan. But how many people can afford to do a blood test? It is called a PSA. It is expensive. It is more than 2,000 shillings. How many people can afford? Ni wachache, si ndio? Hata scan ni 3,500. But there's something that can be done. Daktari, si ndio? What can be done? Something can be done.
Can be able to monitor the urine output and the frequency of the urine output and the. Let me become a little bit layman. And the behavior surrounding urination.
True. Behavior surrounding urination. If your stream is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, mkojo ilikuwa inaanguka pale, sasa inaanguka hapa. This is a problem. Please go and seek medical attention. And then when you go to hospital, wanaume, there is something called a digital rectal examination. Wanaume hawapendi yo. It is the easiest thing. You go to your clinician, atakuona, umwambie daktari, mimi pia hii mambo ya prostate, atakupima physically, physical examination. Hiyo si pesa, physical examination. So, basically, it is very uncomfortable, but that is what we do. Very uncomfortable, but that is what is done. It is easy, it is cheap. Okay? So they want to measure the size of the prostate through the rectum. Okay? So the doctor would actually feel it through the rectum and see whether the prostate is big or not. Okay? And that is basically something that all of us can be able to do. Sindio? Yes, sisi wote tunaenda hospitali. And then, of course, as she put it, PSA and ultrasound, they help. But for those people who cannot afford, please, there is still another screening test that you can do. Cancer of the colon. The older you get, again, age. So you realize age. The older you get, men are more at risk of cancer of the colon than women. But women can also get. Family history, diabetes type 2, long-term diet with red meats and processed meats, alcohol use, cigarette smoking. Okay? Are we together? So what can be done? Again, a laboratory test. I don't know how much, it should not be very expensive. It is called a fecal occult blood. Usually this one requires some preparation before you do, isn't it? Some preparation before you do. So you walk to a health facility and you consult and you have it done, okay? Because when you have cancer of the colon, you may bleed in stool. But this bleed may be something that may not be seen on with a naked eye, okay? Although we have many other reasons why people may actually have blood in stool, eh? So that is one thing that they want to rule out. So the moment it becomes positive, that test, you go for another test called a colonoscopy, which is visualization of the colon, okay? So screen, usually they say every 3 years, but I say depending on your risk. Depending on your risk. And then cervical cancer, family history. Of course, infection with this virus called HPV. Becoming sexually active at a young age. Having many sexual partners, smoking, weakened immune system, for whatever reason. Long-term use of oral birth control pills, what wanaogopanga here. And economic status, eh? Of course, when people live in poverty, poverty subjects people to many, many, many other things, okay? So poverty is a major determinant of health, major. People who come from poor backgrounds, those girls that are coming from poor backgrounds are the ones that will go and look for sex for money. So you see how that vicious circle goes, yeah? So how do we screen? This one is for our girls, for us. How do we screen? Number one, there is something called a pap smear. In Embu, it is very common. Here people do. In other parts of this country where people cannot have the ability to do, there's another screening test for people between 25 years and 49 years of age, something called VIA or VILI. It is a very cheap test. It can be done at a dispensary level. It is less painful than a pap smear, okay? But it is very subjective. It depends on the experience of the person doing it, because they will visualize your cervix by applying some chemicals, okay? Then I'll tell you, okay, we can see some changes or we can't see anything, okay? So. But for our young girls, let us have them vaccinated. Yes? Our young girls, from the age of, usually the vaccination protocol is from age 9, isn't it? Age 9 to 14, thereabout, before they become sexually active. Because this thing called human papilloma virus is there. It's there with us. People will catch it, okay? So. So, what can you do to improve your health? We are now empowering ourselves. What can you do to improve your health? Adapt a healthy sleep hygiene. If you forget anything, just sleep well. Sleep well. Sawa? Yeah? Engage in regular physical activity. Eat a healthy diet and hydrate. Attain life balance and prioritize self-care. We'll discuss a little about that. Know when to seek medical help. And go for regular medical checkups. Please, go for regular medical checkups. I don't want to tell you annually. No. But at least, don't go to hospital only when you are sick. That's my point. Sometimes just walk in when you are healthy and say, I am healthy. I've just come to find out how my body is doing. Cindy, are we together? Yeah? Any question up to there before I go to this other, almost the last thing that I want to talk about today? Any question? Yes? Here. Okay.
Praise God.
Amen.
Yes, you've spoken so much about sleep.
Yes.
Should it be consistent, the 7 to 9 hours, or if there's breaks, we are born-again Christians, we wake up to pray at 3 a.m., and then we go back to sleep. I don't know, how should the sleep be distributed?
The best sleep is what we call consolidated sleep. Consolidation means you have put it all together. It is more healthy. But whatever you do, sometimes you'll wake up and sleep. You know, sometimes duty calls. Sometimes you wake up, you're called. When I was young, I used to be called to go and work at night. And I would go, yeah? But whatever you do, make sure that at least you have rested those 7 to 9 hours. So even if you sleep to pray, you wake up to pray in the morning. Make sure during the day, because we're talking about over 24 hours, make sure that over 24 hours you have rested your brain for at least 7 hours. Okay? But sleep consolidation is the best. Consolidated sleep. However, sometimes that is not possible. When it is not possible, you can fragment it, but ensure that your brain has rested for that period. Have I answered you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
There is something that we usually love so much in applying to our bread during the breakfast. This is Blue Band.
Yes.
When you take Blue Band and you try to boil it, it doesn't melt.
Yes.
Like zile mafuta zingine. So does it mean that there is no other option that we can use in place of Blue Band? And which one is the best?
Does it mean that there is no other? Blue Band is a shortening, is a trans fat. Okay? And we have different, unaona ile yenye iko na blue light kabisa. Hiyo ni ya manufacturing. By the way, ndio inatumika kutengeneza kubake. Very poor quality. So use it in moderation. Please do. In moderation. In fact, WHO is trying to ensure that these things called trans fats, your kimbo, your kasuku, eventually they will get out of shelves. Eventually, they will get out of shelves. So use it in moderation. And no one aspect of healthy living is good. All of them combined work very well for you. Healthy diet, physical activity, sleep. Hizo vitu tatu. They will work very. Try them and you will see. Okay? Now I want to summarize with some very key pillars to well-being. Some very key pillars to well-being. Those ones are not on the slide. So please, you can write. For you to ensure you have well-being, which is a state of comfort, a state of happiness, and a state of having fulfillment or purpose, you must develop resilience. Resilience. And what is resilience? Anybody who can try resilience? Yes? Yes?
The ability to press on even when the body says no.
The ability to press on even when the body says no. Another try? Resilience. Endurance. There is endurance, perseverance, resilience. So the ability to press on, like Kipchoge, is endurance. He has been built for endurance. Perseverance is when you start the business, it fails, you continue. Start again, it fails, you again until you make it. Perseverance. You can persevere. Resilience is when you undergo a bad experience and you come out of it unscathed. Grief, loss. You have a bad diagnosis. Yet, you emerge out of it. Many people don't emerge out of it. Ni ukweli ama ni uongo? resilience. And as a leader, you must develop resilience for your well-being because you will get bad experiences. Okay? So resilience is the rapidity with which we recover from adversity. How rapid do you recover? Okay? And how do you develop resilience? The how is very important. Number one, change the narrative. Something bad has happened. Don't dwell on it. Change the narrative. Pick the lessons and move on. Okay? Find the positive in your suffering. What is the silver lining in your suffering? There must be something good in your suffering. True or false? Face your fears. Slowly and repeatedly expose yourself to the thing that scares you. Practice self-compassion. Confront your own suffering with an attitude of warmth and kindness. Do not be hard on yourself. Embrace yourself in your suffering. Okay? And there are three aspects of self-compassion. Let us look at these aspects. You need to be mindful. You've heard about mindfulness. Mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness. Wazungu wanapenda hiyo sana, mindfulness. If they are traveling, they stop. And everybody goes in their own corner. And then they just focus on themselves. In the moment, they do yoga or something else. That is what we call mindfulness. Focus on yourself. In that moment. Okay? Acknowledge that you are going through a difficult time. This is my time for suffering. Acknowledge. That is when you will be kind to yourself. Remember that you are not alone. Remember that you are not alone. Say to yourself, suffering is part of life. And it will be always part of life. We will all suffer at some point or another. In our leadership, in our personal situations. Be kind to yourself. Accept yourself the way you are. Okay? Those are some of the aspects of a compassion. When you're compassionate with yourself. And then, of course, meditate. That's another way of building resilience. Meditation. Meditate. We meditate in prayer, isn't it? We do. As we pray, we also focus on ourselves in the present moment. It is said that our most painful thoughts are usually about the past or the future. Ni ukweli, si ndio? Either you are very anxious about something that is about to happen, or you are feeling something that happened. Okay? We ruminate or we regret about the past, and we get anxious about the future. Okay? So when we pause and bring our attention to the present, we often find that things are okay. Is it true or false? Sometimes we are very anxious about school fees itapatikana wapi sasa. Mtoto sasa na kesho ni shule. Focus now that God will provide. And for sure it happens, eh? Sindio? It happens. Yeah? So resilience is one key pillar to well-being. Another pillar to well-being is outlook, positive outlook. The ability to see the positive in others. As a leader, see the positive in others. Have a positive outlook. Let it illuminate. When you are positive, positivity reverberates to the people you lead. Eh? And then attention. Pay attention to what you do. That's another key pillar to well-being. Paying attention. Pay attention to what you do. It is said that a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. You have not paid attention. You have not done your assignment well. You have not completed it well. There's a problem. And then generosity. Be generous. That's another pillar to well-being. Be generous. And how do you become generous or have a heart of gratitude? You have a heart of gratitude, number one, to yourself. Number two, to your family. Be generous to yourself. Jipigie asante. That I have done well today. Write down a few things that you have done well today, even if the day was bad. Some good things happened, isn't it? Yeah? And then be generous also to your family. Be generous to the people you know. And the most important is have some random kindness to the people you don't even know. These things help your body to produce happy hormones. You feel good. Okay? Are we together? And as I wind up, I just want to leave you with two quotes. One, an unknown author says, "A grateful heart is the beginning of greatness. It is an expression of humility. It is a foundation for the development of such virtues as prayer, faith, courage, contentment, happiness, love, and well-being." And another author says that the more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being. Last but not least, I want to echo the words of John 3, verse 1 and 2, which say, "Dear friends, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well." Thank you.
Thank you so much.